Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, and with me is the Jamie Lee Curtis to my other Scream Queen, I guess. This is Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn, and this is We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies, and it's October, so you know what that means.
It's such a perfect day.
It's spooky time.
Uh, that's a hint for anybody who remembers the trailer for this movie of what we
You're
watched.
right. Train spotting.
Yes, exactly. I mean, considering the title of our show is always the title of the movie, it's
Mm-hmm.
not hard to figure it out anyway. But I'm doing okay. How are you? It is
I'm
spooky,
doing pretty
spooky
good.
season.
It is happy Spooktoberween season, so.
Yes, and we're picking scary movies because then that helps me do my 31 days of horror because I don't have time to watch other movies when I'm trying to get 31 horror movies in 31 days.
Yes, and I did that for a few years, but I couldn't keep it up, so decided
It,
not to.
it's
I
pretty.
enjoy doing it,
Yeah,
but sometimes if you're off by like a day or so, then it's just
I don't think I've ever actually done 31 days,
hmm
and I'm really gonna try this year. We're recording on the 8th right now, and so I'll be watching my 8th movie tonight. So I'm hoping I can keep it up for all 31 days.
yeah. Then there's like those crazy people who do like 62, is it two a day?
I don't have time for that crap.
I mean, I don't know. There was a few weeks where I was able to watch like 30 movies in 2 weeks at one time. So like,
Yeah, I'm using my time like still quarantining pretty good.
mhm,
I'm using my extra time that I'm not like when I'm not watching movies, I'm actually catching up on some shows. So like I've
mhm.
watched I'm all caught up on The Boys on Amazon. Peacock just dropped all of the seasons of Saturday Night Live, so I just started from season 1, episode 1.
Oh man, a lot of
So
growing pains. Some bad seasons, some good ones.
that yeah, there's some bad skits and good skits too, and once you get into for me, it's once you get into the late '90s, no more the early 2000s, then it started going downhill for me, and then it was like one or two good skits, and that's it.
Yeah, the thing is though, that like any other show, I mean, it's well, this is because it's a sketch show. It's always been hit and miss, and it kind of
Yeah,
will always be hit or miss just by and there's like because it's been around for like over 40 years at this point.
yeah, and everybody's got their favorite.
There's peaks and valleys because there's just so many different eras and so many different cast members have come through it.
But I like watching shows like this too that are a fun way of doing a social commentary on the time, like, and they're very like uh time capsule, like a moment in time because it's done weekly, and they
Hmm.
try and do the most current news at the time. So like watching the 70s ones, I was born in 78, so some of the news stuff that they put on there, like the weekend updates, I'm going, I don't know what you're even talking about, but like some of it is like, oh, okay, that was happening at that time. And the same thing I'm doing with another show now that we have HBO Max. I'm watching South Park, and I'm, I'm watching the first season, and I realized that most of the quotes that I remember from South Park are within the first 2 to 3 episodes.
Nice.
But that one's fun to watch because they literally take the news of the week and animate a half-hour show in a week and write it and animate it. So like everything is very current. And so I watched one called Death, and it was, just a take on the whole Jack Kevorkian thing. And after watching, I go to my wife and go, "Remember when Doctor Death, Jack Kevorkian, was a thing?" Just- but yeah, so it's stuff like that. I watch Saturday Night Live, South Park, rewatching that. And,
Yeah, you always got to be careful with that sort of thing because sometimes then it can just seem extremely dated and not necessarily in a good way.
oh yeah, but some of it is just kind of fun. Going, oh, I remember that, and then I remember the jokes they made of it too.
Hmm.
So yeah, so the Saturday Night Live stuff might be a little. Some of it might be dated, but then again, there's also a bunch of just fun skits in there too. So
Hmm.
that's a good mix and good musical guests. Like second one had a Simon and Garfunkel reunion because they were already broken up by that point. Yeah. Anyway, we should get to our actual movie here.
Yes, we should.
What did we watch this time?
We watched You're Next from 2011, but it's released in 2013 or something.
Yeah, this premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2011, and it was picked up by Lionsgate and apparently hit a bunch of other festivals over the next couple of years, but it didn't get a wide release till 2013. And I specifically remember this one because listening to podcasts around that time, I remember people who saw this at film festivals and they were just raving about it. And I'm like, when is this movie ever going to come out? Like, I keep hearing such great things about it. And then finally, it was released in 2013. And so it took a while for me to finally get to see it.
Not as bad as like All the Boys Love Mandy Lane or something. That film sat on the shelf for a very long time.
Or like Cabin in the Woods
Yeah.
that finally got pulled off the shelf because Chris Hemsworth was in it and he became big as Thor. And then you like watch that, you're going, wait, he looks a lot younger in this one. Oh, wait, he is. But yeah, so finally released in 2013, and this has a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes with 158 critics and a 60% with 42,000 users. I thought 60% was a little low, but it's a horror movie, so
Mhm.
it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and it's a home invasion movie. So you either like those or you don't, and I'm in the camp of liking home invasion movies.
Yeah, I guess a home invasion. I don't care for him that much. To me, a home invasion movie has to be like really, really good to be worth my interest.
Oh, so see, when I say I like them, it's the good ones I think are really good,
Hmm.
and I think this one constitutes as a really good one. Funny
Okay.
Games, Funny Games is another good one. Um,
Yeah, I'm just as far as home invasion goes, I'm just pretty meh on just kind of the whole concept of them. But that's just me.
okay, this was directed by Adam Wingard, who directed several. This is part of that whole phase of it's called mumble gore. It's kind of branched off of the mumblecore movies that started in like the early 2010s.
Hmm.
Um, you got the Duplass brothers, who are big mumblecore filmmakers. It's kind of the day in the life, a lot of improvisation, just kind of very natural movies rather than stylized script or anything like that, and a lot of
Hmm.
improv. And then you got these kind of mumble gore horror movies, and a lot of these directors worked with each other a lot. This was directed by Joe Swanberg. No, Adam Wingard, who did A Horrible Way to Die, The Guest, the new Blair Witch movie.
Hmm.
You have one of the leads played by AJ Bowen, who was in A Horrible Way to Die and The Guest. One of the other ones is Joe Swanberg is in the movie, and he's the director of a couple of mumblecore movies called Drinking Buddies, Happy Christmas, and some other ones. And another character in here was another director called Ty. His name is Ty West, and or no, he might have just been in House of the Devil, Innkeepers of Sacrament, or did he? No, he directed those.
You directed those, yeah.
Yeah, so he directed some of these kind of horror films too. So like these are all like directors and actors that really crossed over into each other's movies too, and all of them had some sort of involvement in VHS 1 and 2 and the ABCs of Death when those came out.
Cool.
The writer also wrote A Horrible Way to Die, The Guest, and Blair Witch. His name is Simon Barrett, and he played one of the masked figures, the one in the
Nice.
tiger mask. So yeah, it's just this group of directors, and I like a lot of their stuff. It's The Guest is really great.
Hmm.
I liked House of the Devil, and then we'd be remiss not to mention another star of this film, the mom, played by Barbara Crampton.
Yep. Horror's beloved Barbara Crampton.
May know her from Reanimator, From Beyond, Chopping Mall. So she was a horror queen of the 80s.
Yeah, why wasn't Jeffrey Combs there?
I know, right? He should have played the father for sure.
He would have been great.
That would have been wonderful. A great reunion.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is basically a family is getting together for the parents' anniversary. They go out to their house out in the woods, this giant mansion,
Big rich
um,
people house.
a big rich people house. Apparently, the parents are rich. Um, and then all the kids bring their spouses. So there's like three sons and their wives slash girlfriends, and one daughter and her husband. And they all come out to the house, and then all of a sudden,
I have dinner, things are awkward, and then whoops, someone shot a crossbow through it and hit me in the head.
Yes. That's great because that scene is great because they're all just like the siblings are arguing at the table and the artsy underground filmmaker
Yeah, wasn't that actually Simon Barrett, or was that Ty West?
that was Ty West.
That's
Uh,
funny then.
yeah, he goes over to the window because he sees something out there, and while they're arguing at the table, just all of a sudden, thoop, like a crossbow bolt into the forehead. And then it just kind of builds from there because they start going crazy and you get kind of a feel for the movie and a feel for the twist because of the way some like watching it a second time, I'm watching people's reactions more and going, oh, they really gave away with their performances, like, who's involved in this and all that stuff. I felt, but it's basically we'll get into spoilers here. Pause the podcast, go watch it. It's streaming on, what did we watch this on?
Peacock.
Peacock. That's right.
A free version of Peacock, which had ads, and because just the way it was, what annoyed me is that the ads were just seemingly random. It wasn't necessarily like when you're watching a movie on TV where they put in breaks where it kind of makes sense, like sometimes between scenes when they format it that way. Otherwise, you're just watching the movie. It seems like in the middle of an important scene, it's just like bam, go to ad, bam, we're back. Where were we? Kind of
Yeah.
broke the tension, at least for me.
Yeah, it did me as well. Like, yeah, horror movies, I agree, are some of the worst things to watch with ads.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's still worth going to check it out on Peacock for free. We didn't mention the opening scene though, where they have a neighbor just down the road, played by Larry Fessenden. I don't ever know how to pronounce his name, but he shows up in a lot of like these lower budget horror films. And
Nice.
if you watch a lot of low budget horror and all that stuff, you'll recognize him.
Nice.
But you start on him having sex with this younger girl, and then they both get killed in their house, and
And
so
it's
it's
like,
kind
wow,
of
that was fast.
What's that?
And I just wrote down, wow, that was fast.
Yeah, so they really like jump right into it. I like when movies can kind of do that and then get into the uh, more of the exposition type scenes and stuff like that, because the ones that just start out with if they just drove up to the house and was slowly building into it, I like when they can put in a scene like that and it plays later, with people trying to go to the neighbor's house and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't think it was super important, but it played well through the movie, and it was a
It
way
got
to,
your attention.
yeah, it gets your attention right away and shows you how violent these killers are. So, like when they start invading the home, they mean business. But I think there's some interesting kills in this one,
Hmm.
and some cool shots too. There was a lot of shots of looking through windows, and then all of a sudden you would just see a mask appear in the reflection.
Yeah, but then sometimes in kind of the more actiony moments, there was shaky cam, which I was not a fan of. It's like, stop moving the camera.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, the cameraman's had too much coffee today. Come on, he's got the jitters.
there was a few scenes, and I read somewhere that they actually did the majority of the film handheld just because they wanted to feel like you were part of it.
Yeah, but then I guess, it's definitely one of those. I mean, obviously, it's not as bad as something like Taken 3, where he jumps a fence.
Yeah. I didn't usually that shaky cam bothers me a lot too, but I didn't feel like it was, for me it wasn't, it didn't take away from this movie for me.
Hmm.
Um like I said, I liked the characters, and I liked the twists that came throughout the movie, and some of the kills, and I love that the main final girl or whatever just turns out to, like, she's one of the girlfriends of one of the brothers, and these people attack the house, and she's all of a sudden, yeah, I was raised in a military compound.
And my dad was like a doomsday
I
survivalist
was
prepper sort of
Yeah,
thing.
it was a survivalist camp or something like that. So she could take care of herself, and so she's setting up traps and all this stuff. But there's a great clothesline scene with a wire, and I think one of the best kills ever was the blender in the kitchen.
Yeah, that was fun. That was borderline something to see out of Dead Alive.
Yeah, it was getting there. But she kind of takes control right away.
It's like, all right, do this, do that. So let's see, there's Felix and Z, then there's Drake and Aaron, I think. Then there's someone and Kelly. Trying to
Yeah.
remember all the characters' names, and then there's mom and dad.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll get into spoilers here, but you find out that Drake just wants the inheritance money, and so he set this all up with these people he knew, and people start dying, and this is what I liked about it was because the main character Aaron ends up being the survivalist and taking control of the situation, then it was I think that they legitimately wanted it to be like they were setting up a plan where the parents got killed, and then everyone else was going to survive so they could get the insurance money and go, oh my god, these people came and attacked and whatever. And then
Mhm.
but she goes after him, and then it just turns into the uber violence.
Yeah, and one sequence I did really like as part of sort of the big setting up trap sequence was sort of the scene in the basement when she finally goes all like full. I know Wes Craven had movies where people were setting up traps too, like in Nightmare on Elm Street with Nancy sets up the big traps for Freddy.
Yeah.
And so when like she goes full Nancy and then like breaks all the light bulbs and hides in the basement and like sets the camera so it's constantly flashing so it disorients the guy. That was a well made sequence.
Yeah. And there's a couple scenes in the basement I like, because one of them was when one of the brothers went down and realized that Drake was behind this,
Like
and
Drake
then
and Felix, I believe, and Felix was sort of the
yeah,
one
and
who was willing to get his hands dirty.
and and Drake starts stabbing him and just keeps stabbing him over and over, and he's still standing there. He's like, "Would you just die already? This is hard enough for me.
Yeah, you jerk.
Why don't you just die, man?" I just like his delivery of that line. This is hard enough for me. It's just uh, and then it's just kind of it slowly descends into madness and more brutal kills because, like I said, Aaron escapes by jumping. She jumps out a second story window, gets a giant glass shard in her leg,
Hmm.
and so she's got to limp through the rest of the movie, which you know ratchets up the tension with she can't get away as fast, so she's got to outsmart him. But yeah, that camera flash one was towards the end, and finally, like, it comes down to the last of them, and she had set up this awesome Home Alone sledgehammer thing on the door too, and I love the end of the movie.
Yeah, because at first I thought, like when she finally stabs her boyfriend Drake, is like, you killed your entire family. What's wrong with you? You don't care about any of them, that sort of thing. So she just kind of stabs him out of revenge at that point. And then like a cop happens to see her do it, so then she gets shot in the shoulder. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go inside now. Then you realize, oh no, she set this entire trap with like an axe.
Yeah. And the funny thing is like, when you realize that she literally in this film, once the end credits roll, she is literally the only person who shows up on camera who is alive at the end of the movie. So nobody, even the person that comes to help her, ends up dead after it's all over.
Whoops.
Oh no. So don't open that. Oh god. But no, I don't know. What did you think of this movie?
Um, Not big on like. I was one of those situations where I was kind of like waiting for the twist to happen. It's like, all right, this seems way too standard. The plot. It's like, all right, when's the twist happen? Come on. And when it does, there we go. Okay, now it's interesting. It was like the second twist. Okay, now I'm in. Third twist, like, all right, let's see where this goes.
Okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. This is the second time I've seen this. I watched it, like I said, in 2013 when it finally got wide release, and I was excited to watch it, and I actually enjoyed it just as much this time. I really like this movie a lot, so I think I could give this one a high recommend myself.
Yeah, I'd say this one is it's pretty good. It's not a high recommend for me, but it's good enough. I guess one thing I didn't like is that I never really felt like I kind of understood the whole layout of the house. I felt like I kind of wanted to know where everything was in the house so you could keep better track of where everyone was. And maybe that was kind of on purpose. They didn't tell you, but it felt like in other films you kind of sort of know the layout of the space when you're especially when these films are just like based more on one location.
Okay, yeah. I felt like I kind of knew just from where they were going from here to here, but yeah, there was a lot of more cutting from this room to that room, so I can kind of see that. I think it's somewhere in the middle for me. Like a lot of it, you knew, basically where they were, because there was the foyer at the front of the house, and the dining room was just off of that, and then there was a room behind there, and then you had the upstairs, which the upstairs was just kind of there's a bedroom up there. They don't really go into all the rooms and in that
Yeah,
one.
I
So
guess they definitely would have at least liked to see more of the upstairs or just more. He was like establishing these are all this is kind of explore that space.
yeah, I feel like the upstairs was the one where he's like, so where exactly is this bedroom in the upstairs? I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, because with something like say another horror film that takes place mostly at like a country house, stuff like Get Out, you really do feel like you know where everything is generally in that house.
Yeah. So yeah, I think yep, personally I can give this one a recommend.
And what would you do as a double feature?
I think this one would go really well with Ready or Not from
Oh
last
yeah.
year. A very similar vibe, not necessarily a home invasion with that one because going in that it's the family trying to kill this girl. So there's a little different, but it is still all within the interior of this rich family's house. So it's kind of a different story, but a very similar structure. So
Hmm.
I think that'd make a good double feature.
Yeah, I think for me, I the double feature I'd pick would be The Guest, also directed by Adam Wingard, starring Dan Stevens. I really, really like The Guest because it doesn't necessarily start as horror. It doesn't really. It does a really good kind of shift and like, oh crap, this has gone like full slasher by the end of this movie. But it feels subtle enough that you didn't. I didn't realize it was going to be that. I guess dark until it actually got there. And plus, it's got a great synthesizer soundtrack. By that time, he's basically going like full John Carpenter, which I'm on board with.
Yeah, the Guest is a great movie. So, oh, that was one other thing that about the Your Next is the score was very subtle, and I liked that. There was a lot of moments where there was no score,
Hmm.
which you know, I think that just goes more down to the mumblecore, mumble gore kind of film
Hmm.
where it's more just natural. Here's some siblings bickering at the table, and then all of a sudden this happens. It's almost more jarring because there's no the score is a little more subtle.
Yeah, one disappointment though is that Perfect Day by Lou Reed did not make an appearance because
I
that was in the trailer, and that's a very well put together trailer.
And you know what? Even if that the opening scene where they kill Larry Fessenden, they put a CD on loop so that when people come by the house, they think he's just sitting there listening to his CD. And I was thinking as soon as they hit loop on that, I was like, oh, they're gonna play Perfect Day from the trailer. And I was like, oh, that's where the missed opportunity was right there. There's even a great place for them to put it. So
Mhm.
yeah, I kind of agreed with that too. When I first saw that trailer, before this movie came out, I loved that trailer and I loved the use of that song in the trailer. And then when that scene started, I was like, oh, this would be perfect. And I was like, what is this other song they used? I don't even know.
My guess is because the budget was like what $1 million, so
Yeah, they probably didn't
you
have
can't
the.
afford Lou Reed.
You can't afford Lou Reed.
At least we still have the scene, the Perfect Day scene from Train Spotting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our movie and our double feature. So we can move on to the spin the wheel category.
Yeah, we gotta keep it spooky.
So we're going horror and spin. Martial law is declared when a mysterious viral outbreak pushes Korea into a state of emergency. Those on an express train to Busan, a city that has successfully fended off the viral outbreak, must fight for their own survival.
Nice. So is this about a train to Busan?
It might be. And you may have heard me talk about this on What You Watch It, but
Do you
I
still want
guess
to do it again for more fuller review, or?
I think so. You know what? It was a good movie, so I can already tell you that.
All right, I'm in.
So this you can find it streaming on Prime Video and Tubi for free, and Popcorn Flicks for free, and Plex for free, and Crackle for free, and it's also on the streaming services Shudder and Hiya.
All
So
right,
you can find this in lots of places.
nice.
So until next time, though, oh, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at AwesomeKM.
And I'm at Noah_Saturn SATERN.
And you find us on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. Like our podcast video, comment below. Let us know what you thought of your next if you've seen it. And until next time, if you're rich, just give your kids money so they don't have to kill you off for the inheritance.
Eat the rich. That's what I say.